My name is Tidiane Kassé. I'm the chief editor of Pambazuka News, French edition. We are published weekly, and Pambazuka has three editions: English, French, and Portuguese. So we started working on this SDG, making a special edition on the SDG maybe 3 months ago, in partnership with Africa Avenir, and what we did is to launch a call for articles, asking people who would like to contribute to this edition to send us articles. And fortunately, we received about 12 articles regarding the SDG, and we had different perspectives on these issues, talking about the general conception of SDG. Is Africa Can Africa trust really the SDG after failing on the MDGs? Okay, was it a good thing to fail on the MDGs and go to the SDG? We had some specific questions also analyzed by our contributors regarding health issues in Africa, regarding the question of regionalism in Africa, and other questions, some specific points related to the MDGs. And we had all this contribution, and we made a special issue that was published 2 weeks ago. The general position expressed in the issue is that first, African countries failed meeting the different points of the MDGs. You can find one country who succeeded in meeting on 2 or 3 points, but in the general conception, we missed. All the countries in Africa missed the MDGs because of many reasons. Some of the reasons are that Africa was very far away behind, when it started to think about these MDGs, and having to succeed meeting the MDGs was very difficult, and we failed. We failed also because of bad governance, of bad policies, and all this situation was analyzed in this special issue. And one of the opinion expressed by our contributors was to say that, okay, you cannot think development is not a thing people can think outside of Africa and tell Africans you have to do this to be in order to reach development. Development is a process that it's an endogenous process, a process that comes from African people to say our development should be like this or like that. And development also, you can attain, you can be successful on this, and then if you have this, you can have another thing, and then you can have another thing also. So that are the main points. Our contributors access their reflection, and saying also that even we have SDGs, maybe it could not be a bad thing. Saying that sometimes African countries need a standard to be, tested, during a process. At that time, Africa must be here. But even we have this process, it is not a process Africa should only, stay and watch all the other countries say Africa have to do this or have to do that. What we have to do from Africa is to contribute to the debate, to be part of the debate. During the summit in September, Africa has to express its voice, to say that is what we want and that is what we don't want, using Africa agenda, because Africa Union has its own agenda in order to develop our continent. But it is not only going to New York, going to the summit and say, okay, all what you have said is good, and we sign. That is maybe some points our contributors have raised in this issue. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, the civil society did not fully participate in the debates. We are going from the MDGs to the SDGs, and there is no deep analysis on that. You don't have government gathering civil society, gathering NGOs, and discussing why we failed, in which part we failed. We leave MDGs, we are going to SDGs without having this general analysis. And from my perspective, it was necessary to have this analysis in order to, when we go to New York, when the civil society, when our government go to New York, they say, okay, you want us, Africa, to be at this time, at this level, at X time, that is why we didn't meet our commitments, and that is what we want to avoid, what we need to avoid, what we need to do. Then we needed this analysis to see what was good and what was bad. And this analysis, unfortunately, did not, it was not really organized in our country. You have some sectorial meetings, government meeting with some specialists on women, some specialists on HIV and AIDS, and discussing with them what are the advancement, what are the advancement, where are we late, etc., etc. But we didn't have a general meeting, and we need that before going to New York. Maybe the SDGs, the draft is already done. Maybe the UN has its own agenda, and our country has just to come and sign. Okay, but Africa has to think about what our government are going to sign, what we shall engage in, and see what is possible or not possible. Now that was, I think, the role of the civil society regarding this, and unfortunately the government did not give them the possibility to do that. But now also civil society organization have to take the lead, have to organize this kind of meeting by itself. It is not waiting the government, but I should agree with some civil society organization in our continent if they took the lead to take the opportunity to organize this kind of meeting to see what was good, what was bad, because it is our future that will be engaged in New York. Now, for the media, I think the media also has to pay more attention in this kind of issue. What the media is doing in Africa is just transmitting the position of governments. If they attend a meeting, the government say, we have failed in this, or we have been successful on that. They say, yes, the government has said this or that. There is no analysis, no deep analysis to really transmit what the civil society organizations think, what the grassroots community thinks, what the association of women, all the 8 principles in the Millennium Development Goal, what people do think about that. We don't have, unfortunately, the media focusing really on that. I have not seen a good story regarding the SDGs and regarding the MDGs. And on this side, I think the traditional media, the mainstream media, failed in their, in their job, in their work, what they have to do. I think this cooperation is necessary. We have the civil society in the north. We have some civil society in the north cooperating with civil society in the south. We have this kind of cooperation in the World Social Forum. We have this kind of cooperation in some other sectors. And during last World Social Forum in Tunis, there was an activity was organized on SDGs. What should be African position? It was just a discussion. But now I think what came from this meeting, maybe civil society in Europe has to discuss it in Europe, discuss with Europeans here, as the civil society organization in Africa has to discuss, it in our continent. And what should be done, I think, the two civil society has to get together, even Africa and the underdeveloped world are interested, are interested in the SDGs. I think that what the civil society in Europe should do is to have with Africa what could be the one position they could defend. If they have the possibility to go to New York, what should be the position of the civil societies, not only for Africa but for Africa and for Europe? What kind of opinion we can have regarding development? Are the 17 principles already drafted as as SDGs, are they good? Are not they just principle like that, but very, very specific and very focused on specific questions? I think the two civil society have to get together, as I said earlier, in order to put our government in pressure, put pressure on our government, raise attention from our public opinion, so they can, on their side, put pressure on their government to see, as the SDGs will be universal, it will not be for underdeveloped, but it will be a worldwide, commitment for all countries in the world to get, linked to these SDGs. What should be really our different position? And this position, how to fight against inequality, how to fight against how to make women more prominent in our public spaces, and how all those issues can be, undertaken by our government in New York in September.